All right, so ready to unlock the secrets to building wealth.
Let's do it.
Today, we're diving deep into two books that promise to help us reach that magical $1 million mark.
Ooh, $1 million.
Be a Millionaire Next Year by Michael Berg and The Automatic Millionaire by David Bach.
Classic choices.
Now, we're not just summarizing these books, we're going to extract those juicy strategies that really click for you, the listener.
Love that approach.
Whether you're just starting out on your wealth building journey or you're a seasoned investor looking for fresh perspectives, we're here to spark those aha moments, those little light bulbs going off.
Those are the best.
And you know what's so refreshing? Both books emphasize that building wealth isn't about extreme sacrifice. You don't have to live like a monk for 40 years.
Right. It's not about deprivation.
Yeah.
It's about making smart choices that actually boost your finances and your happiness.
Yeah, I love that. And Berg, in Millionaire, he nails it with that quote about living richly within your means, but constantly pushing those means further. So it's not about delaying gratification forever, right?
Exactly. It's about building sustainable wealth, a life you can actually enjoy while growing your finances.
Makes total sense. And you know, that ties in nicely with Bach's Latte Factor, which we'll get to later.
Oh, yeah, the Latte Factor.
It's all about those small, seemingly insignificant expenses that can secretly drain your wealth over time. But before we get lost in lattes, let's talk about this whole think like a millionaire idea from Berg. He's a big proponent of finding a mentor, someone who already has what you want. But isn't that a bit of a catch-22?
What do you mean?
Like, how do you even get close enough to a millionaire to learn from them in the first place?
I see what you mean. And I think Berg would agree that it doesn't have to be direct one-on-one access.
Oh.
Their books, their speeches, even their public stumbles. You know, those are all learning opportunities.
Oh, interesting.
It's about absorbing their wisdom, even from afar.
So it's more about adopting their mindset than getting their phone number.
Exactly. It's about understanding how they think, how they approach challenges, how they make decisions.
I like that. And speaking of learning, Berg also has this interesting point about sticking to investments you actually understand.
Oh, that's so important.
It's tempting to chase the latest hype, but...
Absolutely. You know, he uses that example of Jim Stovall, who made his fortune in familiar industries like energy and real estate.
Oh, right.
And Stovall says, unless you're a pharmaceutical expert, don't gamble on drug stocks.
Yeah, stay in your lane.
Right. Play to your strengths.
So knowledge is power, especially when it comes to your money. Okay, now let's talk about those lattes. In Automatic Millionaire, Bach tells this wild story about Kim, who was totally shocked to discover her daily coffee habit was costing her nearly $2 million in potential savings.
$2 million just from coffee.
It's crazy, right?
Wow. That's a powerful illustration of how these small recurring expenses can really add up.
It's like death by 1,000 financial cuts.
Yeah, and what's important to remember is that the latte is really a metaphor.
Right.
It could be anything, those daily snacks, subscription boxes, even those app purchases we totally forget about.
Ugh, yes, those sneaky app subscriptions. So before we swear off coffee forever, what's the solution here? Just obsessively tracking every penny.
Well, tracking is definitely the first step. Awareness is key.
Right.
But Bach takes it a step further with this brilliant idea: automate your savings. Think about it. The government already does this with taxes. They make sure they get paid first.
Ooh, that's sneaky but smart. So we can use that same principle to pay ourselves first.
Exactly. Just like setting up direct deposit for your paycheck, you automate transfers to your savings or investment accounts. Make it effortless. Bach tells this inspiring story about Donna, who started small, didn't feel any pain, and built up this amazing nest egg over time.
So small steps, consistency, and automation are the keys. No need to suddenly become a hermit. Now, speaking of that nest egg, both books are big on diversification, right? Don't put all your eggs in one basket and all that.
Right, and Bach uses this cool pyramid analogy. The base is your secure stuff, like emergency funds and your home. Then the middle is for growth, like stocks. And at the very top, the smallest part, is for those high-risk speculative ventures.
So it's about building a solid foundation first, and then slowly venturing out to riskier territory as you build confidence. And he actually shows how diversification helped portfolios during the 2002 crash, right?
Yes, that's a great point. Diversification isn't just about potential gains. It's about protecting your wealth from those market storms that inevitably come along.
Smart. So it's like having a financial safety net.
Exactly. It helps you weather the ups and downs and come out stronger on the other side.
Yeah.
It's fascinating how both books really emphasize the importance of understanding your personal relationship with money.
Right.
It's not just about the numbers, right? It's about those deep-seated habits and beliefs we have about money.
Yeah, it feels kind of deep. Like, where do you even begin to untangle all that?
Well, Berg has a whole chapter in Millionaire dedicated to this thing called cost creep.
Cost creep.
Yeah, it's that sneaky tendency for our spending to increase as our income goes up.
Ooh, I've been there.
We get a raise and suddenly we need that fancier car or bigger house.
It's like you upgrade your lifestyle without even realizing it.
Exactly. So what's the antidote? How do we fight back against this cost creep?
Good question.
Berg offers some practical tips, like refinancing your mortgage for a lower rate, or negotiating better deals on insurance.
Oh, smart.
He even suggests taking a hard look at all those recurring subscriptions and memberships. We tend to forget about the gym you never go to, the streaming services piling up.
Oh, yeah, those are the worst. So it's about being a conscious consumer, questioning every expense. But let's be honest, budgeting can be such a drag. Is it really necessary?
Well, Bach actually believes that traditional budgeting can be too restrictive.
Interesting.
Instead, he's all about this idea of paying yourself first.
I like the sound of that.
It means automatically allocating a portion of your income to savings or investments before you even see it.
Out of sight, out of mind, right?
Exactly. Make it automatic. But what about those big, scary things like retirement planning? It can feel so overwhelming.
Oh, tell me about it. Especially with the whole 4% rule, feeling less secure these days, The idea that retirees can safely withdraw 4% of their savings annually.
Right, with interest rates being so low and the market being so unpredictable that 4% isn't feeling so safe anymore.
Exactly.
So Berg actually explores some alternatives like fixed annuities, which can provide a guaranteed income stream. And he also stresses diversification in retirement investments, not just across different asset classes, but also different income sources.
So it's about having multiple streams of income, not just relying on one big pot of money.
Precisely.
I like that. Makes it feel less risky somehow. But speaking of risk, Berg also mentions some less conventional investments, like tax lane investing.
Ah, yes, tax lanes.
That sounds a bit intense. What's the deal with those?
It can be.
Yeah.
You're basically buying the right to collect unpaid property taxes from homeowners who are delinquent.
Ooh, that sounds tricky.
It does have the potential for high returns, especially in our current low interest rate environment.
But there's always a but.
There is. Berg cautions that it requires a lot of research.
Makes sense.
You need to understand the property, the local laws, the whole process.
Right.
And he actually advises against investing in vacant land, especially in rural areas, because of hidden costs and complications.
So, not for the faint of heart.
Definitely not.
What about something a bit more grounded? What does he say about real estate investing?
He's a big fan.
Ah, classic.
Berg emphasizes the power of leverage, using borrowed money to amplify your potential gains. He covers various tactics, from the classic buy and hold to more entrepreneurial things like infill development.
Infill development.
Yeah, it's where you buy older homes on large lots and redevelop them into multiple units.
Oh, interesting.
But he's clear that it's essential to understand the local market and work with experienced professionals.
Makes sense.
It's a business, not just a passive investment.
So real estate can be a path to wealth, but it's not a get-rich-quick scheme.
Definitely not.
It requires knowledge and strategy. What about those of us who aren't cut out for real estate mogul life? What about freelancing and entrepreneurship?
Both books actually touch on that. Berg has a whole chapter on freelancing and Millionaire. He's big on finding your niche.
Right.
Building a strong network and structuring your business properly.
So it's not just about being good at something, it's about treating it like a real business.
Exactly. He even gives advice on managing finances and taxes, which could be tricky for freelancers.
Yeah, for sure.
And for aspiring entrepreneurs, he talks about solving problems, creating a business model that generates income even when you're not working.
Passive income. Love it.
And crucially, having an exit strategy.
An exit strategy. So knowing how you'll eventually leave the business, whether by selling it or closing it.
Exactly. It's like having a plan B from the start.
That's smart. Okay, let's get back to the nitty-gritty of daily expenses. Any tips for managing those?
Berg has this great checklist of potential cost-cutting areas.
Ooh.
From housing and transportation to entertainment and groceries.
Okay.
He's a big believer in coupons and sales, even suggesting asking for rain checks if a sale item is out of stock.
Wow, that's dedication. I admire his commitment to saving. But what about impulse spending? Any tips for curbing that?
Bach has this fun trick called bottling up bills.
Bottling up bills? What's that?
Whenever you resist an impulse purchase, you take the money you would have spent and put it in a big empty soda bottle.
Wait, seriously?
Yep. It's a visual way to see your savings grow.
Oh, I see.
And it reinforces those good habits.
I kind of love that. It's like a tangible reward for resisting temptation. Okay, let's talk about something a little less fun, but oh, so important. Credit card debt. Any advice for tackling that beast?
Berg stresses consolidating your debt onto one card with the lowest interest rate.
Oh, right.
He even gives a formula for prioritizing which debts to pay off first.
So it's a strategic approach, targeting the highest interest debts first. What's Bach's take?
He's more about the psychological aspect. He encourages cutting up your cards and committing to a debt-free life. He suggests splitting your pay-yourself-first allocation between savings and debt repayment, gradually chipping away at both.
So it's about building a secure foundation while also tackling those debts. A balanced approach. Now, shifting gears a bit, both books talk about charitable giving.
Yes.
Is that really part of a wealth-building strategy?
Bach believes it is.
Interesting.
He dedicates a whole chapter in Automatic Millionaire to tithing, automatically donating a percentage of your income.
Oh, right.
He argues that giving back enriches your life and fosters gratitude.
So it's about shifting your mindset from scarcity to abundance?
Precisely.
Like there's enough to go around, so why not share?
Exactly. And both authors stress finding a cause that truly resonates with you. It's not just about writing a check, it's about aligning your money with your values.
I love that. Okay, we've covered so much ground here. From hidden financial leaks to unconventional investments, from budgeting to healthcare costs, it's clear that building wealth is about more than just money.
It really is.
It's about a whole approach to life.
Right. And remember, there's no one-size-fits-all solution. The key is to experiment, find what works for you, and enjoy the journey.
Enjoy the journey. I love that. But sometimes that journey might take you beyond your comfort zone, maybe even beyond your home country.
Indeed. Berg actually has a chapter in Millionaire on offshore investing and tax havens.
Ooh, tax havens.
Sounds like something out of a movie, but...
Okay, spill the tea. What's the deal with tax havens?
Berg presents it as a legitimate strategy for diversifying assets and potentially lowering your tax burden. He talks about the Cook Islands.
The Cook Islands?
Yeah, it's a remote South Pacific nation known for its asset protection laws.
Oh, wow.
Wealthy individuals often set up trusts there to shield their assets from creditors and legal judgments.
So it's like a legal way to protect your wealth.
It can be. But Berg cautions that setting up these offshore trusts is complex and expensive, usually requiring specialized lawyers and advisors.
Okay, makes sense.
He also talks about some low-tax U.S. states like Florida, South Carolina, and Nevada.
Oh, right.
Which could be attractive for retirees.
So even within the U.S., location can impact your wealth-building strategy.
Absolutely. He even explores the U.S. Virgin Islands, which offers tax breaks for entrepreneurs who meet certain criteria.
Oh, interesting.
Like investing a significant amount in creating local jobs.
Wow, so many options. But what about something a bit more, well, down to earth?
How about farmland? Berg talks about how it's historically been a stable asset, a hedge against inflation.
Farmland? That's interesting.
And a good way to diversify a portfolio.
Huh.
He even gets into sustainable and organic farming, highlighting the growing demand and potential for returns.
Okay.
And for those who don't want to actually run a farm, he suggests looking into farmland funds or private equity real estate ventures.
So there are ways to invest in tangible assets beyond just stocks and bonds. That's cool. But now I got to ask about something that always makes my head spin. Options trading. How does Berg tackle that beast?
He breaks it down into understandable terms.
Okay, cool.
Focusing on two specific strategies: covered calls and creating dividends from non-dividend paying stocks.
Okay, covered calls. Explain it to me like I'm 5.
Imagine you own a stock right.
Okay.
With a covered call, you sell someone else the right to buy that stock from you at a predetermined price. And you get paid upfront for selling this right, which can be extra income or help reduce your cost basis for the stock.
But what if the stock price goes way up? Don't you miss out on potential gains?
That's the trade-off.
Yeah.
You're limiting your potential upside, but also generating income and reducing your downside risk.
Okay.
Berg emphasizes carefully choosing strike prices and expiration dates based on your goals.
So it's a calculated risk. What about creating dividends from stocks that don't pay dividends? That sounds like financial alchemy.
It's more like clever use of options contracts.
Right.
Berg outlines a strategy where you sell options contracts against a stock you own. generating monthly income that acts like a dividend payment.
Okay, that one is still making my brain hurt a little. Can we move on to something a bit less mentally taxing, like, I don't know, health insurance?
Good idea.
Yeah.
Something we all have to deal with.
For sure.
Berg dedicates a chapter to navigating healthcare expenses, particularly health savings accounts, or HSAs.
HSAs, those always seemed a bit confusing to me.
They can be, but they offer this triple tax advantage.
Triple tax advantage?
Contributions are tax deductible, the money grows tax deferred, and withdrawals for qualified medical expenses are tax-free.
Wait, so it's like a super-powered piggy bank for healthcare?
Exactly. But there's a catch. You need a high-deductible health plan to qualify.
There's always a catch.
There is. But Berg argues that even if you have a different plan, switching to a high-deductible one might be worth it for the HSA benefits.
Interesting.
He even shares strategies for maximizing your savings, like delaying using the funds to allow for tax-free growth. Oh, smart. And using them for your spouse and dependents' medical expenses, even if they're not on the same plan.
So it's about being strategic with your HSA to create a real healthcare safety net.
Exactly. Building wealth is a holistic process, and healthcare is a huge part of that.
Wow, we've covered so much. From hidden financial leaks to unconventional investments, from budgeting to healthcare costs. It's clear that building wealth requires knowledge, strategy, and a deep understanding of yourself.
And remember, it's a journey. Stay curious, stay informed, and never stop learning. The more you understand about personal finance, the more empowered you'll be.
Okay, so we've talked about building wealth for ourselves, but what about the future? What about leaving a legacy for our kids and grandkids?
That's a great question, and both books actually touch on that.
Oh, good.
Berg dives into estate planning and Be a Millionaire next year.
Okay.
Including setting up trusts to protect assets and minimize those pesky estate taxes.
Right.
He even gets into generation skipping trusts.
Generation skipping.
Yeah, which can help pass wealth directly to your grandkids, potentially bypassing estate taxes for your children's generation.
Whoa, that's getting into some advanced stuff. But it makes sense to think about that early on, even if we're not exactly billionaires yet.
Exactly. It's about being proactive and thinking long term.
Right.
But beyond the legal stuff, both books also emphasize instilling good financial values in the next generation.
Like teaching them about saving, investing, and not going crazy with credit cards.
Exactly. Beck even suggests practical things like involving kids in budgeting decisions, having them track their spending.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And even encouraging them to start investing early, even with small amounts.
So it's about giving them the tools and knowledge to be financially responsible from a young age.
Absolutely. It's an investment in their future. And, as we wrap up this deep dive into building wealth, I'm struck by a key theme from both books. It's not just about the money. It's about cultivating a mindset of abundance, gratitude, and generosity.
Yeah, that's such a good point. It's about realizing that true wealth goes beyond just dollar signs.
Right.
It's about relationships, experiences, and having a purpose.
Exactly. It's about building a life where you feel secure, where you can pursue your passions, give back to others, and make a positive impact.
So it's not just about getting rich. It's about living a rich life.
Beautifully put.
All right, dear listener, as you continue on your own journey to build wealth, remember those key takeaways.
Yeah.
Think long-term, be proactive, keep learning, automate your finances, diversify those investments, and cultivate an abundance mindset.
And never underestimate the power of small, consistent actions. Even something as simple as automating a small weekly transfer to your savings can snowball into something significant over time.
So as we end this deep dive, here's a question for you to ponder. What small, seemingly insignificant financial habit could you automate today to set yourself up for future success?
Thank you for joining us on this journey of financial discovery. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and feel empowered to take control of your financial future.
Until next time, happy investing. And may your journey be filled with abundance and fulfillment.